It's Jack Pinter. How you doing, mate?
Matthew, great to see you again. Nice weekend.
Nice. Someone got the haircut. It's
I
it's
did get
profound
that. Oh,
revolutions all round. So
absolutely.
you're famous for being a deep thinker. Give us the philosophical sentence of the day.
Well, it's actually someone said this to me over the weekend. They said the simple phrase, believe what you want to believe. And I thought, oh gosh, when you actually think about this, what does this actually mean? And we are now kind of free to believe what we want to believe, but of course, historically, it was not always so. As we know, a lot of wars have been fought just around that idea that no, you have to believe what we believe, or we will put you to death. I mean, my wife was telling me this morning about Henry VIII. Like we're going to put your side to death, and then when they're back in power, we're going to put your side to death simply because you're believing a different form of the same religion. I mean,
Yeah,
quite
yeah, yeah,
remarkable, isn't it?
yeah. No, it's absolutely bizarre, isn't it? So yes, this plurality, this freedom, is an incredibly recent thing. I mean, how recent is it?
I think it's really, really recent. And in fact, let's face it, in a lot of parts of the world, it's still not happening. You're still not allowed to believe what you want to believe. If you look at the Rohingya, if you look at the oppression of Muslims in China, this is still some mega censorship. And I suppose believe what you want to believe is a pillar of religious and freedom of belief, which we have largely adopted in the West, haven't we?
So we would think we have, but we could sort of pick away there. Why don't we fast forward to 2020? COVID, the scientists or Soho, people not social distancing. What are we seeing at the moment?
Well, I think people are really saying that I believe that it's safe or I believe that it's not safe. There's a real true polarization. And I think a lot of people on each side are decrying the other side and saying, no, this is, what you're doing is crazy. So I'm not sure there's that true acceptance. And I think especially from the science side, I don't think the science side is willing to accept the people who are choosing to believe something other than science uh, are valid, or they or want to allow them to actually hold that belief and act on that belief.
So there's a sort of social rank, isn't it? So within the scientific community, the scientists are great, they're rational. But let's be honest, human beings, the last thing they are is rational. So
Mm.
the herd, forget herd immunity, this is herd belief, is very, very different, as we saw in Soho the other day when everyone just sort of going for what is it? What was the headline from the police commissioner? We have learned that drunken people cannot socially distance or won't.
I'm,
Profound. Let's do a
I'm glad they've
scientific
learned
study
that.
of that.
And I suppose I'm trying to think for people for whom social life, going to the pub, is a fundamental part of their existence. And who am I to say, do you know what? Science says this is going to kill me and my grandma. You can't do that. Whereas it's not exactly clear. And who am I to say, no, you have to adhere to my beliefs? Because that is effectively an outmoded way of thinking, isn't it?
It's an unattractive way of thinking for the 20 somethings or 30 somethings who, if they contract the COVID-19 virus, will probably survive in better numbers. But we saw a
Mhm.
cartoon the other day of the 20 or 30-year-old Red Right Hood going to the pub saying, I'm going to be all right, Jack. And the COVID wolf saying, Great, have a nice time, and I'll follow you back to Grandma's house, which I thought was fairly profound. So we're actually getting segregation based on generations. So the shielded or the protected class will maybe never be able to come out because of, one could say, I'm being provocative here, the selfishness of the 20 or 30-year-olds.
But I guess that's all backed by a belief as well. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what we're talking about here.
So,
And of course, yeah,
so the idea,
go
let's
ahead.
get on to biases, which is a sort of complicated thing. Are there any examples there that might explain some of this behavior?
Well, sure, and I think obviously that one of the bias that I think most people are familiar with is this idea with confirmation bias, is that we only see the things that confirm our already previously held beliefs, and we look for those things and we seek them. And now in a kind of, I guess what we'd say, a segregated news environment, you really can choose to subscribe to things that just confirm your ways of thinking.
And what are the two meanings of subscribe here?
Well, subscribe is obviously to sign up to, but it's also to, I guess, to accept as true or accept as real, isn't it? Like I don't, I subscribe to that belief.
No, exactly. So we have this idea of belief itself. I'm sometimes provocative within my class and say religiously, can you have a religious belief? It is a trick question, um, because you can't really have a belief, because a belief is knowing. So you can have faith, which is you choose to accept it as a truth for
Mm.
yourself, which I think, in terms of racism and the rest of it, there's no science behind racism, but there's no honesty either. You are acting in faith as a racist. You're choosing to go along in that modality because there is a benefit for you. So you can't actually be a believer. A belief gets us more back to science, fact, and truth, of which there is scant little these days.
Well, but I suppose as well, if we think I'm going to go out once and I was fine, so I'll go out again. So, and this is another go out again, and this is another bias. It's the overconfidence bias, the gambler's fallacy. Is like I bet right 5 times, therefore every time I bet, I will bet right. And I think that's again another thing that plays out a lot in the stock market and other
Lovely,
economic
lovely.
environments. So, and I suppose we see that we've seen that with people going out, maybe once a little bit and thinking, okay, I didn't get the virus, and now I'll just expand, and now I'll expand, and of course, there's the ostrich bias, which we're just going to ignore all the negatives, stop looking for the negatives, and just focus on. So all these things that are affecting us without us necessarily knowing it. And one of my favorite biases is the blind spot bias, which is not believing we have any biases. And I think we've seen this a lot recently as well in a lot of different contexts.
Very good. So just throwing there, a few examples there. I could give up heroin anytime I want. You've just taken it. You've gone to the casino of drugs, and just a little bit too further in. Or Michael Gove's, we've heard too much from experts. So that sort of
Mm.
blind spot idea. Or my son, I could never join a cult. I'm too intelligent. And then I point out that a lot of people have, probably Scientology is full of people who are above average IQ. Can you see what I've done
Mm.
there, viewers? We put some balance. I've called them a cult, and I've said they're intelligent. Don't shut me down, Tom.
Yeah, no, exactly. I wonder if people look at those Soho photos and think, well, we got go hop on the bandwagon bias. They're doing it. They're all gathering together, and we've seen that from the Black Lives Matter protests that there doesn't seem to be a big spike in numbers. So maybe it's okay. Other people are doing it. I want to be a part of the majority. I'll do that as well. Again, all these things affecting us without necessarily us being aware of that they are affecting us.
But I'm thinking, you have this power of the individual, which is a joke. It's an irony. It's a contradiction. I'm an individual. I can go to Soho, get totally trolleyed, and hug strangers. But of course, they're an individual within a system, and they're probably just not getting. They're within this information,
Mm.
belief, political system. They're part of, actually, an informational tribe, a believing tribe, or a faith-based tribe. But they're thinking that they are somehow expressing their individual human right to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the question is, are we really willing to let people believe what they want to believe? And go, "Okay, believe it. You don't have to believe in the things that I believe in. You don't have to believe in the rationality I believe in. You can operate on all these biases and go ahead." Are we ready for that?
Well, mate, we can say go ahead. They are going to do it anyway.
Absolutely. And we see that, and I suppose there's beauty in belief, isn't there? When you ask people what they believe in, what they speak about is with lots of emotion, lots of commitment, and obviously there's a strong sense of identity in a way. Is that we are what we believe in.
But it's also stress reduction, isn't it? If there's a simpler story, which is I'm okay, then
Mhm.
there's so much less stress. You can get a sleepful night because it's going to work for
Yes.
you. So we don't want the world's complexity. We're bringing the whole world, the 196 nations, all their news, their bad news, their chaos, their war and disaster is coming through our screen, and we're overwhelmed. We desperately are seeking out the simple, hence the affirmation, hence our sort of fake optimism, or our untested optimism.
Yes, and I suppose when you believe in nothing, life is over, right? Is there can you go beyond that? I believe in nothing. I mean, I'll just say it. I believe in nothing.
Yeah, okay, so there's they would say, well, okay, so Ibrahim X Kendi would say, actually, that puts you in a really bad category. So if you say anti-racism or anti-racist versus non-racist, which is a racism denier or being a racist, there's no such thing as neutrality. So he would not allow that position. He would say, you are actually voting with the people in power if you say, I don't believe in anything.
Right, right. But I suppose it does give you liberty. If you believe in nothing, there's nothing to adhere
Well,
to.
okay, to be rude about our American brothers, this massively overused and nonsense phrase, freedom, 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 freedom. It's the same idea, isn't it?
I know. I think you're right. But I wonder if there's also a kind of Eastern Buddhist nothingness,
Oh, I
believing
see.
nothing.
Okay, so the
Also,
the present moment. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
I can send an email as long as there's no attachment.
Exactly. And I wonder if it'd be interesting for our viewers to just to put down in the chat what you believe in. If you had to pack a little bag with beliefs in it, and you could only take four, what would they be?
Very good. Yes, exactly. If we had to cull your beliefs down to four, what would they be? Mate, I think we're there. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. Nice one, Jack. We've got everyone thinking and freaking out. Oh my word. Shall I
And
go to
I
church
believe
today? Shall I go to Soho today? I don't know.
and I believe in you, Matthew.
Ah, that puts a bit of pressure on me. There we go. Cheers, mate. Thank you, viewers. We'll see you next time.